It's still muted. Here we go. This episode of Lords of the Storm is brought to you by our sponsors over at Patreon, where you, yes you, can also support the show. Just head over to patreon.com/Lords of the Storm to become a patron today.
Heroes, gather tribute and earn my favor. What do you say? Are you ready to begin?
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 174 of Lords of the Storm, Heroes of the Storm podcast. My name is Greg Gizmo Zord Parker, and tonight I am joined, of course, by the Zord Lords themselves, Mr. Ryan TBK Zord Reader, and Mr. Alpaca Zord Jennington, taking the spots of Mr. Kevin Multizord Ellis this evening. And on this week's episode, Season 3 has begun. The Heroes team continues their communication with the player base. The Raynor and Asmo reworks hit the live servers. Where does the game currently stand for new players? And of course, HGC Phase 2 continues. But first, let's see how the other guys are doing. Al, how you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, Greg.
Wow, that's the first time I've heard you speak, and honestly, wasn't expecting that sound to come out of your mouth. It was a little alarming there, but thank you. He is filling in for Multi tonight. Multi had some stuff come up that he was unable to get out of. But good news is, if you still want to hear Multi this week, you can, because he was on CTR this last week. Convert to Raid, talking some Hearthstone. For the new expansion that came out with that, so make sure and check that out. But TBK, how are you doing this evening?
I am doing quite well. I've been playing lots of Heroes tonight. I've been playing lots of WoW. So it's been a good week.
Wow.
Wow.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Heroes. Of course, new season started, so yesterday grinded out my placement matches. My goal... I officially hit my goal. So I played enough games last season in Plat that after my placement matches this season, went 7-3, got placed in Plat, which was what I was trying to do. Unfortunately, today we dropped to gold. But you know what?
Oh, no.
Yeah. Had some really weird drafting things happening this week, but it's okay. But then I also spent some time playing a little bit of Dead by Daylight that I picked up over this summer sale with Spencer. That's a good game. It's an awesome game.
Yeah?
And I'm a scaredy cat. Gizmo is a scaredy cat. I peed a little playing it. But good times there. Did you get anything? Have you started any of your placement matches? Are you still holding on?
No. I probably will jump into Hero League this season. But I think the plan is to wait a few weeks.
Yeah.
To let things settle a little bit, especially now with third band coming online, and I want to try and there was a really good Heroes Hearth guide, and I'll have to look it up and maybe shout it out for the community section. Maybe it was by Chris. I don't remember exactly who it was, but they laid out a really nice, maybe Alex. Diz, they laid out a really nice, here's some really good Hero League heroes to play from all the rules that will help you in the current meta carry your team as much as possible. So what I need to do is I need to figure out who I want to try and climb with and then work on those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've for myself, I'm still playing Phoenix, but I've kind of transitioned over to where Gul'dan has been kind of my go-to. In situations where I can. Otherwise, I'll still Phoenix or Lunara if we have another mage. And then been doing well with Blaze, and actually been playing a little bit of URL in Hero League. So, which you probably...
how'd that go?
Wouldn't have thought I would have said a couple weeks ago. 1-1 with her. One of them, it was one of those weird draft things where our last pick screwed everything up, and I had to change my pick, and it wasn't ideal, and blah blah blah. But the first game on Brax's Holdout with her is just like I played against a Rexar, which I was actually unsure how she would do against a Rexar. Turns out she does fine. She won't.
She kind of does fine against everybody.
She won't
right
kill
now.
him early game, but like Misha and Rexar are not an issue. You're fine. Just stand there and heal yourself. So yeah, she seems to be pretty darn great, but again, in the right situations. But I'm super excited to talk about not only season 3, but the stuff, the current patch and all the changes.
Oh my gosh,
But,
so am I.
Yeah, we'll get to that stuff here in a little bit. First up, we have some Patreon updates. So Miguel R. Thank you. He's our newest patron. Thank you for the support. Thank you to all of our patrons. Again, we appreciate each and every one of you. And LDAP TV, I'm calling you out. Shoot us what you'd like for your Zord title. Because we got, you earned that a couple weeks ago. And we need your title. We need it.
It's true.
Let's go ahead and hop on into the news. First up here, HGC Western Clash, again, is going to be held at the Blizzard Arena in Los Angeles this time for Phase 2. And it is going to be August 10th through 12th.
Oh, how I
And-
wish I could go.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be awesome. But you can get tickets to that.
It's true.
So make sure and get those. I'm actually going to see how much are they right now. I just clicked on it. I'm going to buy tickets right now. No, I'm not going to buy tickets, actually. But the 10th through the 12th, and the tickets are $15.
I had to click I'm not a robot.
$15.
$15 a day.
Yep. So
It's not too bad. There'll
not.
probably be goodies and stuff there too. It's a fun. The arena, if you have not been to it, is really awesome. They do it up really cool for the heroes thing. It's a lot bigger than it looks, but it still feels like, I don't know, personal, I guess.
yeah,
Just because of how close everything is. And plus it's being held in the US, which is super awesome.
yeah. I'm fingers crossed that, because we talked about this a few weeks ago about how we kind of wish the HGC stage like got an update on the look and stuff. So fingers crossed they don't do what they did for Heroes of the Dorm and just build that stage again in front of the Overwatch stage. Hopefully they actually, because that Overwatch stage is sick and you can
Yeah.
totally use that for Heroes.
For a 3-day and Dorm was only a 1-day,
Well,
kind of half day almost event, and this is 3. So I would hope they would put a little more effort into the actual stage, and potentially, who knows, it would be really cool if we saw the debut of like a brand new stage
yeah.
that they test out and then use for BlizzCon, since HOTS has its own BlizzCon area.
That would be awesome because
It would make sense.
yeah, and it would allow for more seating because putting that stage in front of the Overwatch stage did take up some of the seating area, and I imagine that this will probably be sold out because again,
Probably.
it does sit quite a few. I think it sits like 400,
Yeah.
but with this being in the United States for the first time, I have a feeling that will sell out fairly quickly. So
Oh yeah,
your tickets if you want.
If not from people coming from out of town, there's a ton of people that live in the area.
Yes.
That I'm sure will be going there.
for sure. AMA stuff. So I made the comment last week that I really hope Blizzard kept their promise on, communicating with the player base after, saying that a couple times and then coming back and apologizing for it. Well, no apology needed because they kind of gave a schedule for some upcoming AMAs that they're doing. The first one, Art and Animation, actually happened this morning that we'll recap here in a second. They will be doing a ranked play changes and matchmaking AMA on the week of August 6th.
I am really looking forward to that one.
It's going to be good.
I'm a little scared for them,
Yeah.
to be completely honest, because that one, out of all of these, I feel like that one's going to be the scariest for them.
Yeah.
And probably the heaviest, where they're hit the hardest on stuff.
Well, you know, I'm actually not sure. Well, then September 10th is Hero Balance and Design. And granted, there's a lot of time, quite a bit of time between now and then for that. But, well, and even kind of the August 6th one. But the rank play changes in matchmaking could be, like, I feel like things are pretty good right now. Obviously, we still want the stuff that they've said they're working on. So I imagine we'll get a lot of questions about how the progress and stuff is upcoming for that. But the hero balance and design, I feel like there's a lot of people kind of upset with. Well, I've seen a lot of stuff on Malfurion right now. Of course, people are still sick of the mobility stuff. So I don't know.
Which admittedly has gotten a lot better.
Yes, the mobility stuff for sure.
Yeah, they've really been tuning that back quite a bit. I'm just hoping that, as we kind of talked about last week, I hope we get some more updates on the quick match stuff, because I want to see when the actual quick match matchmaking changes. Maybe we'll hear a little bit about when they're thinking the new role system might come out, and I'm sure they'll have kind of a like a post analyzing of how their ranked play changes actually are working right now, because they did make a lot of big system changes for this season.
Yeah, for sure. And then actually, speaking of quick match stuff, I know that was really bugged because they did add in the new rules. That system was bugged, so things have been really wonky. Have we seen an update? Have you seen one on that?
The only one I saw was a single blue post that said they were looking into it.
Okay.
But I didn't at least come across any updates. Honestly, I've been playing a ton of quick match since the patch came out yesterday, and I personally haven't noticed anything more wonky than usual. I'm really kind of wondering what kind of games people had to have to say the system was bugged.
Well, it's
with some of the quick match comps that can happen. But honestly, most of my comps that I've been running have been fairly well balanced team wise.
That's good. From what I've heard, like prior, the wonkiness you may see is, occasionally you may get to where you have a warrior support and then the 3 flex and the other team doesn't. But a lot of times it would be like, oh, your team has 2 or 3 warriors and a support, and the other team has 1 warrior and 1 support. From what I've been hearing, a lot of people have been seeing like, oh, my team has 3 warriors, support, and assassin, and the other team's like 2 support and a specialist and 2 assassins. Which, it's whatever. But just in case people didn't know about that, because even though they made that blue post, I've been seeing stuff in the lots, a move, TV chat, and stuff of people wondering what was up with that. So there is a bug. A known bug, and they are working on it. But back to the AMA stuff real quick. I am really glad that they're actually breaking it up like this ahead of time to allow people to prepare their questions.
I like the focus, too.
Yes, the focus, because it doesn't matter if you say this is what it's going to be. You're going to get other random questions that don't have anything to do with whatever the AMA is on. But it should cut down on that at least and allow for a more focused discussion, which is really good. So again, rank play changes matchmaking August 6th, hero balance and design September 10th. The weeks of, not those exact dates. Which is weird.
Most likely Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Because that's where they've been historically.
Correct. All right. Actually, let's do the, since we're talking about AMA stuff, let's just go ahead and recap the art and animation one that was today, which was really cool. We had Ted Park, lead character artist, Karina Kingdom, lead animator, Billy Shih. I don't know how to pronounce the last name, but Billy Shih, principal technical artist, Lana Baczynski, animator. Did I say her last name right? I know I practiced this for whenever we were interviewing them at BlizzCon.
Baczynski.
Yeah, that's right. Lana Baczynski, and who's an animator, and then K.O. Milker, production director. And this is a cool AMA, because this isn't one to where it's like there was really no reason for people to be like upset or angry and ask angry questions in this AMA. It's just, cool stuff. Because that's a side that I guess still a lot of people don't recognize as often. It's just kind of in the background. You know, we don't, when a new hero comes out, we don't really think of the work that went into it. The main things we see are the play style and numbers, and not necessarily all the animation aspects of it.
Sure.
So it's cool. And we got some cool stuff here. So shout out to Icy Veins for doing these recaps, because it makes things a lot easier on us. It makes things a lot easier on TPK.
Yeah. It used to be, I used to spend probably a good hour or two doing the recaps.
Yeah.
Early on, before all these awesome sites started doing them for me.
And
makes it so much easier.
This one was actually kind of hard, because before this Icy Veins recap was up, I was actually going through and trying to look at some stuff. In this one, there were a lot of questions that had nothing to do with art or animation, and it was kind of hard to find Blizzard responses because there was just so much stuff. So for the next ones that are focused, cut that out, people. Ask relevant questions. Oh, yeah. So we'll go through a couple of these things, or, you know, just some. We'll recap it a little bit.
Those are the highlights.
Yeah, the highlights. And we will have this in the show notes so you guys can go and check that stuff out too. As far as Diablo stuff, as far as cosmetics, there's only 5 sprays in the Diablo category, and Diablo 3 icons for 5 classes. So they're asking, you know, when are we going to see some more of that stuff? And they responded, I'll talk to the bringer of sprays and get these in the pipe for future edition. From this, all the threads, it sounds like there's a lot of suggestions for missing sprays, banners, portraits you I'd like to see. They love having those ideas, so keep them coming, and we'll keep them on the list for eventual inclusion. So banners is something that when Heroes 2.0 was first announced, I really didn't care all that much about, but I've kind of gotten into them. Like, I'm rocking my Heroes Hearth one right now.
Yeah, and banners is something that they even admittedly say they haven't done a whole lot of.
Yeah, like
content-wise.
It seems like it's rarely, like, I feel like I get more heroes in chests than I do banners. Like, those seem really rare.
There's just not that many banners.
Yeah. So it sounds like they're pretty open to feedback as far as if you guys have any ideas for banners, portrait sprays, things like that. So hit them up. It'd be cool to see some more of that stuff in game. I personally haven't had any experience with this, but apparently, like, Kilthos Flame Strike can be really hard to see on Sky Temple, low graphics, stuff like that. So that may be something that potentially gets fixed. It looks like one of the ones that I personally liked was Lana Bashinsky talking about Stukov. She was asked kind of what the hardest, toughest hero to animate was, most challenging, and I believe, I'm not sure we asked that exact question, but it was along those lines at the interview we did at BlizzCon.
Mm-hmm.
And it was her answer then as well. And I know they talked Massive Shove, she said, was really difficult to make look okay, as that's something that can extend all the way across the map. But the thing that really stuck out to me here, and see if I can find which one of these. I don't know. There's a lot to roll out through here. But she talked about how, you know, displaying his character, kind of Stukov, stoic and military. Here it is. And he's ashamed of the monster he's become. She went to school to animate monsters, and all she wanted to see was Stukov go full rage mode with that Zerglim. But he's supposed to be restrained and calm. Compelling character, but what an obnoxious juxtaposition. Keeping a half-man, half-alien looking upright and put together on the battlefield, but also threatening and tough, not exactly the simplest task. When Stukov is out of combat, he stands with his arm tucked behind him as he wants to present his best, most human self to you. Upon hitting ready, Stukov looks at his arm, resigned, and says victory above all, because winning battles is more important to him than his cosmetic flaws, and he will use every advantage he has in order to do so. That's a really cool thing, and like a really deep look into the storytelling of a character with really just such a simple idea. And I actually haven't even looked at it yet. I've been meaning to go look at that, just to see when you select him, with him kind of hiding that arm, and then when you ready up, bam, like it's go time. So the fact that they have like the insight to add in those little flavor things, it's not just about coming up with dances or making the animations look smooth. It's about really telling the story of each of these characters through those little quirks and stuff, which is neat. What are some stuff that popped out to you here, TBK?
I guess the big one to kind of get off the table, when will we see new models for Brightwing and Arthas? Because we have seen the new model for Brightwing. It does exist.
Like 2 years ago.
Yeah. And so they did respond, given the community's intent desire for an answer on this topic. I'll do my best to answer as directly as I can. And then he proceeds to answer indirectly. Kind of. He says they're aware of the request. They've had many discussions on how to best approach the rework. Unfortunately, it would affect many departments: design, modeling, animation, effects, tech art, engineering, etc. And given our development bandwidth, we have to weigh what the work it would take versus what else they could be doing in that time. There's always the opportunity cost stuff. That said, we don't currently have any timelines for these reworks, since we want to weigh the cost of doing them with all the exciting new stuff that we have in the works. We appreciate the passionate feedback that we get on the topic and hope you'll continue to let us know what you think could be improved, as well as what you love about the current version. So it's basically just kind of a longer answer of what they've said the last few times of, we know about it, but we're not scheduling it, right?
Well, and it's...
I want my Brightwing.
It kind of makes sense, but at the same time, like, we saw the skin, we saw it, and like maybe like none of the animations and stuff went into it yet, but it looked so good. But that kind of goes along with, like, something a lot of people have had questions about, were the animated home screens. Like, we used to have all those little spoilers, Easter eggs and stuff you would click around. They address that as well. Those are also too resource intensive. Having the 2D home screens allows them to show off beautiful art without taking 15 people offline for a few weeks to do it. So that's something that makes sense as well.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. There's definitely some things I'm much more willing to do the give and take on. Like, yeah, animated home screens are cool, but if that costs us some skins or something like that, then show me the sweet 2D art. Yeah. Because there's amazing 2D art that is made for these things. Like, I don't need a 3D home screen if the cost of doing them is taking away people from doing the skins and stuff. But I will say, I do feel like the Brightwing new model, especially Arthas 2. Arthas is probably the other universally accepted model that most everyone says, yes, we could use a new model for him. But it sounds like, at least from the times we've talked to them before, that Brightwing skins of any sort of complexity are so intensive to make that it would be nice to actually get them on a much newer, not necessarily newer tech, but newer design philosophy model, so that they could more easily create for it. Yeah. Because look at the Brightwing skins that we've got. It's not many, and the ones that we have are just very, very minor edits.
Yeah, besides like the Monkey Brightwing.
The Halloween one. Yeah, and I'm sure the Monkey Brightwing was a big undertaking, but that came out shortly after, not super far after her release. Mm-hmm. But like we got the Zergling Brightwing, which is Brightwing recolored with small spikes, and we got the Halloween Brightwing, which is a hat and little pigtails on the same model.
Yeah, which, that's one of the things we talked about BlizzCon 2 was is it so intensive on her? And they talked about how, like, the animators have different tools now as far as creating the skeletons and stuff that they didn't have back when her stuff was created. So that's kind of what causes the issues, because they need to go back in and redo her with the new system. Which again, like,
yeah, because they have to go back and use, I guess, the old stuff to make.
Yeah, that's what they do with new skins now. They have to go to the old system. That's much slower. But yeah.
So it's unfortunate. I've if anything, like I could give or take Arthas, whatever. But I feel like Brightwing is the one model that I'd really like to actually see come out. Even if they did it and they've got the whole new like skin system pick and stuff, even if you didn't replace the base model, or if you did replace the base model and you kept the old model in as skins, and then all new skins were based then off of the new model.
Yeah.
The silhouette is pretty close. It's very easy to recognize Brightwing in either form. I think that could be a completely legitimate compromise, so that people who are kind of married to the old look could still have it if they wanted to, but the base model would just be different, and then potentially allow for more skins to be created because of it.
Yeah. But
I don't know.
TBK, according to this AMA, coming up with a new legendary skin takes about the same amount of work as a brand new hero, which makes sense because you're pretty much having to do everything except for the base animation, like the walking and stuff, because you're doing the
it's pretty crazy
new animations and stuff
to think about.
Which that could be the case for Brightwing too, because if you're making a new skin, new skeleton, that's actually probably even more work than the legendary, because you're gonna have to redo all those base animations, which is why it's taking so long, because they're so busy. And maybe we will actually see progress on that now, because we've slowed down the hero release schedule.
Maybe.
So
that is honestly a really good point, is that because of the slower hero release schedule, that may actually free up more time to not only for them to give additional art to things like reworks, but potentially more complex skins, which it does seem we have been seeing.
Yeah. The skin, like I said last week, the skins have just been incredible these past couple times. Janitor Leoric, you know what? That would be an incredible skin. And apparently it's such a great concept that it would be a shame to sweep it off the table. So I would be okay with getting that one for sure.
That has been on the list, like top 5 most requested skins for forever. One other big thing that I did want to point out was they broached the topic of abilities not getting recolored for skin tints. And this was a really interesting one because they said there's two varieties of this. One is either, not having time to do it, or wanting to go back and do it. Because they did mention there's a few of them, especially Probius. They wanted to go back and recolor some of his stuff. They said it's on their like rainy day list whenever they get to their rainy day list. But one thing they did say is they have to be really careful on certain coloring, because certain things, especially like red and green, communicate whether an ability is damaging or healing. And they said if something that is red is turned to green, it can be mistaken as something that is safe and non-damaging. It can have an impact on gameplay that design likes to keep an eye on. Every case is different, of course, but that is one of the things that they have to think about if they are trying to recolor abilities, is does this make this ability now read differently? And I thought that was a really interesting.
Yeah, and I've actually kind of thought about that, and I don't know if it's possible to do it on this system because it is the StarCraft 2 engine. But think about like Overwatch League, how they have the home and the away skins. If it's possible, because I believe that the players actually playing the projectiles and stuff are not colored like they are to the viewer. I believe they just do that in the observer mode so that it's easier for people watching to see what's going on. I wonder if it would be possible for them to recolor these to where on your team, like you're seeing it as the color of the skin or whatever, but that the enemy team sees it as just whatever it currently is.
I think that's a good point. My guess is I'm sure there is a way. It's just probably more how complicated is that. But I mean, that is definitely a fix for that issue, to just show different colors to the different sides depending.
Yeah. Because I mean, if you think about it, they already do it with observers observing a game anyways, where left side's always blue, right side's always red. But on your screen it's not. Your side's always blue. So interesting stuff there. What was the other thing that kind of Ragnaros? So Ragnaros skins.
That was the other one I was going to talk about.
Yes. And again, let me scroll through here, see if I can find it somewhere.
I found it.
Okay,
if you want
go for it.
It's something the team would love to do. The biggest hurdle for Ragnaros is the heavy load of effects work associated with them. The model recolor would be easy to handle, but effects would not only have to touch a myriad of effects, they would also be on the hook for maintenance of those skins should any issues arise. At the end of the day, we have to consider whether or not resources spent for single Ragnaros skin recolor is more meaningful to our players when the time could have been used for multiple new skins or recolors instead. It's a balancing act, but one that we would eventually love to make the time for. And that's really sucky about some of these unique characters, is that yes, they're really, really cool, but because of their uniqueness, and they actually mentioned Lost Vikings in this as well, it makes it a lot more expensive resource-wise to make skins for them. Because they mentioned with Lost Vikings, that's 3 skins, essentially, every time you make a Lost Viking skin. For Ragnaros, there's a lot more effects work because he has 2 forms that you have to completely skin as well. So it's...
And then
it sucks.
I was thinking about it, not only the 2 different forms, but if you think about it, his form, like his body and stuff, is always constantly moving because it's like a flowing lava. So it's not like you're just creating a new skin to sit over a skeleton. You would actually have to reanimate that.
It's more effects work.
Yeah. For each of his skins,
sure.
Which is, again, it's unfortunate, and I would absolutely love some more Ragnaros skins. I think everybody would. But
I think, and maybe they have a system like this in place, but it'd be really nice if they whenever they did their yearly planning meeting, set aside time and said, okay, we're going to do 5 hard skins this year.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are some heroes that haven't had skins in literally years, or haven't had anything beyond their base tints or their base skins they launched with. And so, and then we have a lot of these characters that I guess are probably easier to make skins for, have tons of skins coming out. And so I can completely commiserate with Ragnaros or Vikings or, Brightwing or whatever mains of the heroes that just never get new skins.
Yeah.
And so it would be nice. Like I said, maybe they have something like this in place, but it would be really nice if they actually set aside some dev time for a few of those hard type skins every year to keep at least a new skin every year or so for some of these harder characters to come out.
Mm-hmm. The last one I kind of wanted to hit on, somebody was asking a question about, the past couple reworks. We've gotten skin releases with those reworks, like Azmodan, Raynor. Why can't I think of the others? Anyways, past couple reworks. And if we could expect that in the future. And they do like doing it like that. But they say it's not really a priority to always align them like that based off of, if somebody needs a rework fairly quickly, they're not going to wait, so they can have a skin ready to go out with the release for that, which is cool. So
yep.
Anything else important?
No, I don't think there's anything else specifically wanted to talk about. Like you said, we will have this, lordsofthestorm.libsyn.com. We'll have this in the show notes. The link to the Icy Veins article so that you can actually go and check out all the stuff, because a lot of it is flavor stuff or personal stories from the artists and animators, and they're very interesting if you like that kind of thing.
Yeah. All right. On to the latest patch to hit this Tuesday, which included the start of Season 3, the Raynor Azmodan reworks, the new skin, the skin bundles coming out, the changes to Alterac Pass, the changes to Braxis Holdout, the changes to ranked play stuff. A bunch of stuff hit with this latest patch. And holy crap, like this is a really big patch.
It is.
For it not being like one of their big patches, if that makes any sense. It's incredible. So first off, Raynor Azmodan.
Well, before we jump in them, there's one other thing before Heroes. Besides all the rank changes and stuff, which I'm sure we'll give you an update on in a few weeks once things have settled and once we kind of feel those changes out. But Braxis Holdout did get a fairly significant change in this patch. The beacons now become contested immediately when heroes from both team are on the point, which was not the case at all before. The baseline Zerg wave, it was strengthened significantly, and the progress bars received some visual update. I have not gotten it yet in queue from the new patch since it just launched yesterday, but I heard you did, and I wanted to know what you thought about the rebalance and the new way of doing it, because Braxis has always been considered by many people to be one of the snowballiest maps still in the game.
Okay. I was gonna lead into that because that's one of my things I'm most excited to talk about in this patch.
Just talk about it.
It is so.
Let your excitement out.
I've had it twice now in Hero League, and the change they made to that is incredible. Like it really changes how that map is played. So for those that maybe don't understand like the description behind it or whatever, before to contest a point, you would have to force somebody off of it. And I can't even remember. I believe past the halfway point before it would be contested and stop their channel of that situation. Now, it doesn't matter if they have both points fully capped. If you touch that, either the top or bottom, it is contested. It stops the channel time from going, which is huge because that allows you to delay a lot more. It makes that first objective actually like really long. I don't remember the first time I played it, but when I played it today, the first objective didn't happen until like 13, 14 minutes into the game. Yeah, and it was like one team had like 3/4 of the way done, and then we had it full. So there's a lot better chance. This is like the big fighting the snowball thing. There's a lot better chance for both teams to get progress in working on this because it's a lot easier for a team to make a rotation without immediately losing a point because it's so much easier to contest now. So now you really, while one team may win the objective, you should at least have a push going with your side so that you get some work done, get some towers done, and then make the decision on who you're going to split in what lanes based off of what's happening. Instead of what happened before, which was, put one person pushing or in top soaking, and then the other four will come down and defend. So it's been much closer matches. And again, I've only played it twice, but overall, I think it's fantastic. And it went from probably my least favorite map just because it's so hard to where it's still hard, but it is seems to be much less snowbally.
That's really good to hear.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to hear that they were able to make some small tweaks and make it into, because I think it's a really interesting map.
Yeah.
Like I've always liked it thematically.
Mm-hmm. It's
just been really annoying when you lose the first wave and you're pushed all the way up to your keep already.
Yeah. Well, and even like it adds some crazy strategy into it now because, for instance, like I was playing Yrel against a Rexar. One of the things we did to get an advantage on that map is instead of fighting, because we weren't getting control of both, what we were able to do after my team got a couple kills, instead of rotating up to capture both points immediately, they let them still have the bottom cap. I was able to contest on top, just holding it, and then the rest of the team got like a boss during that, which before you can't do because you have to go cap points before the objective timer runs, and then you lose the objective. Now we're able to get more lane presence in to force them out to then where we can cap, instead of, oh, we're losing these team fights, there's just no way we're going to cap it. So, and it really is crazy how such a small tweak really changed that map. And I'm excited to kind of see what that does in the HGC. So,
yeah, that's true, because as soon as this patch goes live, Braxis will be changed significantly.
Yeah.
For the HGC map, because that is, from what I've heard from pros, one of the most hated HGC maps.
Yeah. So
right now,
we'll see if that changes there. The other changes were to Alterac, as far as maps, was to Alterac Pass, as far as the boss changes, and then more notably the cavalry changes. That map seems a lot less snowbally as now as well. I played it 2 or 3 times in ranked, and it really seemed like the first objective really got 1, maybe 2 forts down, and sometimes none. Maybe it just got some towers down in each lane. So the experience advantage and stuff you got from that, it doesn't
much close. Yeah, and I've played 1 or 2 as well since then. It definitely feels a little bit closer to like first summon Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Yeah,
Web Weavers
for sure. For sure. So those are some really good map changes. I actually do want to talk about some of the Hero League stuff here real quick, mainly just the third ban.
Okay.
Have you done any unranked draft or anything yet? Have you experienced the third ban?
I've not experienced the third ban yet.
It's fantastic.
I've heard nothing but good things about the third ban, though.
It really, it's crazy how many more heroes I am seeing in Hero League because of that. The main thing, like right now, unfortunately, it seems like one of those bans is dedicated to Raynor right now, just because he's a scary dude. Raynor and Chromie are like the first 2 bans, but then you still get your Garrosh ban, which happens, and then whoever else. But it really does open it up, and it's gonna, I think, force people to expand their hero pool, and it's gonna do nothing. It's really doing everything we thought it would, which isn't super surprising, but it feels great.
Sure, I am super excited to see this in HGC.
Yes,
I think this is really going to open HGC up a lot from a hero variety perspective.
Mm-hmm. So this should hit HGC next? No,
they've not announced yet when this patch is going live.
Hopefully soon.
Because I would assume it will hit when they switch to the Raynor Azmodan rework patch.
Yeah.
And they have not announced that. My guess is we'll see at least 1 more week, maybe 2 on the Urel balance patch before we move to this one.
Yeah. So that's going to be a big patch overall.
Yeah.
With the map changes, this and the hero rework. So some good stuff to look forward to there. Okay. Now on to the 2 big reworks, which of course is Raynor and Azmodan. Raynor, I've played like 3 games in quick match. I've been close to getting him in Hero League, but I haven't gotten him yet. My impressions from those 3 games, I love what they've done with him. Like he doesn't just seem like an auto attacking hero now. Like it seems like there's stuff to do with his kit, like to keep you busy instead of just hitting Inspire every once in a while and then pinning shot. The talent diversity from what I've seen seems to be really pretty darn good as well right now. Like I'm seeing all different kinds of builds when I see him play against him in Hero League. Do you feel like he has pretty good talent diversity with his new kit? Or?
Oh, heck yeah. Good. Like I have been absolutely in love with this rework. I've except for a few Azmodan games to try him out, I've been playing Raynor basically nonstop. since last night, and he has such a good talent tree. Like I feel like I could take almost all of his talents situationally, and especially in quick match, it's been awesome because I've been able to build to either my comp or what I need for the quick match. So say I don't have a healer, W build is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely awesome. It gets me my adrenaline rush back quicker. I can use it to inspire my teammates. Executioner at level 1 is great if your teammates, especially if your teammates provide slows and stuff. But your trait quest is also really awesome at level 1. The one build I haven't gotten a whole lot of time with yet is the Q build. I've tried his W build. I've tried his trait build. I've tried a little bit of the mixing in the Q stuff because that makes him a little less auto attacky, like you said, and a little more Q focused. But I don't know, with their new talent philosophy, he just feels really, really fun.
Yeah. The change they made to his Q is awesome. Like because I use Q most of the time now at max distance, because you don't really want that knockback. But if you use it at max distance, it's just a very slight knockback, but it gets that slow on them to either help your team catch up to them, or if you went the Executioner, of course, get that damage, which feels nice. And then Giddy Up is one of my favorite talents. I don't know if you've gone that. I actually haven't seen a ton of people going Giddy Up, but I love it.
Is that the speed on W for your team?
No, that is 10% increased movement speed for yourself, whether mounted or unmounted. And then I believe it does movement speed for your team as well when you activate. Actually, it may just be for you, mounted and unmounted. But
I like that the tiers are sectioned off too.
Yeah.
Like he's got a healing tier at 7, which is really, really cool. Honestly, like he still has some of the weaknesses he used to have. Like he's a little more mobile than he used to be for sure, but he still doesn't have that blink, vault, jump, dash that a lot of the other 80 ranged assassins kind of have. So that he definitely is still very positioning based and very weak if caught out. Although the Q having the knockback built in does help with that a lot now, because if they get close to you, boom, you got full knockback range now, which is really nice. I don't know. A lot of people have been saying he might be overtuned or whatever. I think it's possible he might be a little bit overtuned, but I don't think it's really bad.
I don't either. I would agree and say he might be slightly overtuned, but he's not overpowered.
No,
because
you can deal with him.
Yeah, like and I've gone up against some people who didn't know how to play Raynor, and like it's not a character where you select and you just cast your abilities and win. Like you have to have good positioning with him because his damage is from that auto attack and knowing how to use his trait and stuff. So I would agree.
As Scott would say, he's not 2-button Terry.
Yeah. But no, the Giddy Up. So it give you gain 10% movement speed while mounted and unmounted, and then Inspire grants 10% more movement speed. So that's why I like that, because it kind of gives him escape, but it also makes it a lot easier for him to be positioning or chasing to finish off a kill, which is really cool. But yeah, I'm super stoked for him, and I hope that I'll get to play more of him, because I think he'll kind of join my auto attack with Lunar and Phoenix and replace Hanzo, because I don't really Hanzo anymore. Dude's a turd. He's not a turd. I don't know.
And it is worth noting too, there is orange text in these live patch notes.
Yeah.
He did get some tweaks and tuning before he went live. So he does feel a lot better and a lot more balanced. Like you said, he still may be a little strong. I don't think it's an insane amount. But he did get some tweaks down between PTR and this. So that was really good that they were actually looking and were cognizant of that.
Yeah. All right. Now Azmodan. So I haven't played Azmodan yet, but from what I've heard, after him being out for a day and a half, 2 days now, I've heard kind of less of the uproar that there initially was, and that he's actually feeling okay. Even though, you know, Tide of Sin may feel uninspired, it's not as bad as they thought, and things like that. What are your thoughts?
Overall, I really like the rework, honestly. He's got some really interesting build variety now. And interestingly enough, depending on how you talent, it does change his play style up quite a bit, especially if you end up going his auto attack build, which is super weird to think about for Azmodan. It doesn't work in every comp, but I've had it work before. He did also get some tweaks from the PTR. They did buff him a little bit, which was kind of nice, because he did feel like he was a little lacking. They reduced the amount he's slowed when he's channeling. They increased the globe speed from 15 to 18, which made a huge difference. Mm-hmm. It feels so much better now. And they did reduce this Tide of Sin cooldown from 30 seconds to 20 seconds. I still contend it does not feel like a heroic. It feels like a one key. Like it does not feel like a good heroic to me when it's, and I don't think it changed. It's like it costs like 100 mana to use, which is like 40 mana more than your actual globe, but it makes the globe free. So you're essentially trading 40 extra mana for 50% more damage.
Have you tried Demonic Invasion, the new Demonic Invasion?
I like it so much better.
Really? And for team fights and stuff?
Is it effective in team fights? It does a lot of damage in team fights. It really does, especially now that the minions are on the timed thing and then they blow up. Mm-hmm. And the initial damage of them falling down can actually put some decent damage on an enemy team that's clumped up or around an objective. I picked it on Towers of Doom, actually, in a game just before the podcast. And I used it one time during a shrine fight, and it actually caused several members of the other team to have to back up because they were taking too much damage from not only the falling damage, but from the little dude smacking them and then exploding around them.
Nice. Yeah, that was kind of my hope from that, or for that, is from that just getting dropped on structures and stuff, which it seems it still could be fine on, but actually adding value to the team fights. And I could see that pairing well with like Ring of Frost and Mosh and stuff like that. So,
cool. Totally. Yeah.
Very cool.
But yeah, Tide of Sin, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like a heroic that's 40 extra mana for 50% more damage on an ability. That's all it does.
Yeah.
Like that, I feel like Tide of Sin should be a talent. That feels like a level 13 or level 16 talent. Honestly.
We'll see. We'll see.
I find I would probably do Demonic Invasion a lot more than I will Tide of Sin.
Yeah, Tide of Sin feels like it almost feels like a talent now to where like if you're doing really well on your stacks early game, like if you get a crazy number of stacks, then it's like, okay, 10, let's beef it up. But if not, then just go the little dudes, exploding demons. That's what I'm gonna call it. What's it called? Annihilation? No.
Which one? His
Invasion,
other old?
Demonic Invasion.
Demonic Invasion, yeah.
Exploding dudes, Demonic Invasion. It's close enough.
Those little demonic grunts.
Yeah. But yeah, those are all the big things. There were the Cassia getting 50 damage under Blinding Light, and then Chromie's time traps being able to be meleeed by melee heroes. I haven't seen that yet happen because Chromie is banned pretty much every game. And then, of course, the Life Binder on Alexstrasza also heals her and her target for 300 health per second. which I'm sure helped. But as we said last week, that doesn't beat taking yourself off of the map and healing and dealing damage while also being able to get away safely.
Not at all.
It's going to be a tough one to beat. So, who knows? All right. So now we want to have a little discussion here because it's starting, we're getting a decent amount of heroes in the game. We're close to 80. We're up to 14 maps? 15 maps? A decent amount, over a dozen maps in the game. And, what is that doing to the new player experience? Is Heroes as friendly of a MOBA for new players as it was? Is it causing any issues? Things like that. So, first and foremost, the tutorial. The tutorial's gotten one rework, right? Since Heroes?
And that would have been probably quite a while ago.
I meant to do that before the show because...
Try it out.
Well,
see what it looks like now.
Not just to try it out, like to see, because it walks you through as Raynor. And I believe it kind of explains your abilities as you're going through as Raynor. If I remember correctly, again, this has been 2.5, 3 years, probably 3+ years since I've seen it, because I think I checked it out whenever the new one came out. Because Raynor's kit's different now. So would they have just tweaked like some of the text and stuff in it? I don't know. But I do think it is time for a tutorial rework, or at least a new section added to the game for players to be able to go through and kind of learn. I personally think with as many heroes as we have now, there should be a tutorial or a walkthrough section. And maybe this needs to wait until we get the new roles, but something for like assassin, something for a support, something for a tank to kind of walk through and explain.
Yeah, I think the tutorial is in dire need of a rework. Just the whole new player experience, period, I think is in a pretty dire need. Because back a few years ago when the game first came out, yeah, it was great. It worked fine. But I remember seeing a Reddit thread about it a little bit ago, and there's still being like reference to ammo and such in some of the tips, and ammo's been gone now for quite a while.
Which I was thinking about that the other day. What a crazy time when there was ammo in the game.
Yep, I know. I have really adjusted, and I love that there's no ammo.
Yeah,
I think it's a lot better. But yeah, I think we need to look, or the Heroes team needs to look towards new player experience, and I feel like, especially if they're planning some like cross promotion stuff, which I know they do, usually at least a few times a year, or potentially as a cross promotion thing that they could do when they introduce a new tutorial. I think it's really in dire need of a rework to help newer players get into the game as it is now, not as it was 3+ years ago. I really like the idea of tutorials for each of the different roles of some sort. Maybe pick what you might consider one of the easiest tanks, supports, assassins, whatever, in each role, and have your little beginner tutorial that teaches about all the stuff, update it to talk about the team XP, the talent system, how towers and forts and keeps work, how your core works, and how objectives work, and then from that have an optional set of tutorials that kind of run you through basics of tanking, basics of damage and positioning, like just a bunch of like in-game tutorials that cover all the basics, and then kind of walk you through that. You do the required one the first time when you do a new account, and then they have like, 5 to 10 optional ones that you can jump into. Maybe they're even on the training map, right? And they just kind of walk you through how to do stuff, how to use stuff. Here's a suggestion for an easy to play character of this role. I would like to see maybe even a permanent starter pack that you get with gems brought back and put into the store. They did those like
Mega
20
bundles.
hero starter packs. What was that when Heroes 2.0 came out?
I believe so.
I believe.
The mega bundles.
Yeah, then those were awesome.
And they were
I would love
free.
to see something like that.
They don't even have
with
to be
some
free. Just,
you know what?
I said those were free at the time. You don't even have
Yeah.
to make those free. Just make them like a highly reduced like sale.
Yeah, of like
being up all
the
the time.
10 or 15 like more basic characters. Like great start, like here's the great starter character kit.
Yeah.
Or whatever that you can use to get your feet wet. It's 500 gems or 1,000 gems or something super cheap for 15 heroes, 10 or 15 heroes. And then the new players will have a nice, easy entry to grabbing a set of heroes that they can start leveling. And then that provides Blizzard a nice little revenue thing for new players, because they can then advertise that as like new player bundle or whatever. So that's the kind of stuff I would like to see done, because I think we are now at a point and the game has progressed enough that the game is not doing enough to teach new players how to play. And that makes for very frustrating games for experienced players when they're matched with new players, for one. And especially because that then puts a lot of the burden on the new player to go and try to find all this stuff that's not in game, because we don't have like a new player guide type thing in game. We don't have tutorials and stuff. We don't have a community section with guides and whatnot in game. So I think at the very least, Blizzard needs to provide that in a tutorial section in game themselves. I would love to see, and we've talked about this, I'd love to see a community section in game, but at the very least, Blizzard needs to provide the basics and the tools to get you started with playing the game, and then people can go find other content if it's not in game.
Yeah. I would say at the very least, because all the stuff that we're talking about would be very resource intensive after just talking about, some of the artwork decisions and everything. But it is for sure something that needs to happen in this game at some point. And that's something the Heroes team has to decide. Because there will be a point to where if you don't update that stuff, your game will become too complicated with the amount of heroes and the amount of maps there are, that it's going to be a big turnoff for new players, because they're not going to.
And I think we're getting close
it.
to that point.
I do as well.
Honestly.
The one thing that they have done lately that was a good thing was limiting the map pool for new players. And I think it was like your first 3 games are in Cursed Hollow, then you unlock another map. That is good, but that's, that was good for then. It's not enough now. That's something that should stay in the game. But some of this other stuff needs to be added. Something they could do in the meantime, I don't even remember the name of the series that they were doing. But they
like the Nexus 101 or
that stuff with the the new UI we have for the in game, where we have news and HGC and stuff. Add in a new player tab that has links to all that stuff, because I can't think of any of those that they did that would be like outdated up to this point, because that stuff's all about soaking.
And that's how you make the
it's about
tutorials
team
too.
fighting.
You make them on the general concepts.
Yeah. So I think those would be really good to have in game, and maybe even making it to where, like, I don't know if they could do it account wise, based on the player level or experience, but making it to where that's the first screen that pops up with all these links to it whenever somebody, say under level 10 or whatever, logs into the game, instead of the actual home screen with the art splash. Have that new thing pop up, because then they at least for sure see it. It's their choice whether they want to click on it, but new players may not notice a little bar up top that says,
sure,
new player tips or whatever. So,
and I think too, and I know whenever pretty much anything gets brought up in AMA, like systems wise or whatever, they always talk about opportunity cost. Yes, redoing this and taking the time to redo this would probably take a lot of resources and probably take away certain other things. I think we're getting to the point where the opportunity cost is probably worth it, because yes, you need to satisfy those people who are currently playing your game with new skins and new heroes and new battlegrounds and new cosmetics and all that stuff. But if you only focus on that, the game will have a much harder time of growing, because it will be much harder for people to get into. So I think we need to start seeing the balance shift towards that a little bit. This isn't something that needs to happen necessarily all at once. Maybe one patch, you update the base tutorial. And then maybe the next patch, you add in the tanking tutorial. The next patch, you add in your assassin and positioning tutorial. The next patch, you add in your support tutorial. And then you build that list up to 5 or 10 tutorials over 6 months or something like that. And then split the cost. Yes, we'll probably get a few things a little slower. Yes, we might get a few less skins or something for art assets, but I feel like this is something that you're going to have to do. And if they're not, and if it's not on their roadmap or plan right now, I feel like it probably should be.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with everything. One thing I would love to get some feedback on this from our listeners, whether you're a new player and have come across our podcast, whether you're a listener that's been playing for a while but have friends that are new, whether you know somebody that started playing and then stopped, what their reasons were for stopping. I know we have a new listener who, or not new listener, but somebody who came over from playing Dota, which I'm sure if you've played another MOBA, maybe it's an easier transition, but I'd just be intrigued, because for us, have been playing for 4 years, we can come up with these ideas of what we think new players need, but it's also really hard for us to actually know what new players need. So if you guys know anybody, ask them and get back to us, because I think it's a good topic to have a discussion around.
I feel like this would be a good subject to write an article about.
Yeah, maybe.
I wonder if I knew somebody who did that.
Maybe.
My mind grapes are going. But yeah, I think it is. That's kind of why I wanted to have this discussion, since it was a little bit of a slower week. I think it's something that's very, very important, and something that I hope that we see some movement on, or at least some kind of plan.
Yeah.
For in the fairly near future, because like you said, we're progressing. We've over a dozen maps, like 80 heroes or whatever. It's getting high. It's getting intimidating. And so we need to start catering to new players a little better than we are.
For sure. Absolutely. Because you will reach the point of no return, to where it's just going to be too daunting. Like, the only reason I started playing League of Legends, or continued playing League of Legends after I started, was because I had friends that kind of I enjoyed playing games with, and that's the game they played. So I stuck it out. But if you have new people trying to play this game that don't have somebody to explain anything to them, it will reach the point to where that's just going to be a huge turnoff. Whether that point is now, whether that point is at 100 heroes and 15 maps, who knows? But it's something you want to be ready for before it happens. Be proactive about this stuff.
Yeah, we would, like Greg said, we would love to hear feedback on this in particular. kind of see what you guys think, especially newer people.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and move on into the HGC. All right, TBK Phase 2 continues to move on in.
It does, and so does the Heroes Esports website. They added a new section now called Heroes. If you click on League and click on Heroes on the main HGC site, you can now see detailed hero performance stats, pick and win rates, and filter by event, role, map, and more. I like it. I love that they keep adding like more filters and cool stuff like this to the actual HGC site.
Yeah.
This just, it feels like, and I could be wrong, it just feels like they are like using the Heroes site as like an API test.
It does.
On a small scale, doesn't it?
Yeah. And the more information we start getting through this HGC, the closer we are to getting our own API. Hopefully, that's what that means.
Yeah, but definitely check it out. A lot of times these aren't like super publicized, but some of these changes, the last few changes they've been doing, have been really, really big. So big props to them for continuing to improve that site. And it's just getting better and better, and it makes it so it's much easier for that to be your primary source.
Yeah,
for HGC stats. And I think that's what they want to get to eventually.
Yeah, I'm hoping the next step is kind of seeing built like talent picks for the HGC in here that we can take a look at.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Like we're getting close. And the other big thing I want to see is they have the team pages, but they don't have like the individual player pages. So I would really like to see like individual, like you can go into like LFM Esports, but then I can't like click on Fury.
Yeah,
to get cool stats on him.
Yeah,
I want to see that. I want to see individual player stats.
Yeah, see what heroes he's playing, what the percentage is, what talents or builds he's going.
Exactly.
On certain maps, stuff like that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, but yeah, this is a really cool new feature. So HGC wise, we had week 2, and this was on the Yrel patch, Yrel balance patch, and oh boy, did we see a lot more of our Space Goat in HGC. NA kind of muddled her win rate a little bit, but she was extremely successful on the EU side of things. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this coming weekend what if we start seeing more of her, because we didn't see a whole lot of Yrel bans this last week, but we did see a lot of picks. So I'm really interested to see how high her priority will end up going within this next weekend. And then, of course, like we were talking about earlier, I'm very interested to see when they will decide to push this Raynor, Azmodan rework, Braxis rework, third ban patch out, because this is week 3 of HGC. We have this weekend and 2 more weeks of regular league play before we jump into the Western Clash. So my thinking is you either introduce this at week 4 so that you have some time to play on it, or you introduce it after the Western and Eastern Clash.
I almost wish that and feel like they could introduce the third ban at least next week for week 4. And then if they want to hold off on Raynor or Azmodan for whatever reason, they could. But I think third ban needs to be in, and
I agree. Get it in as soon as possible. I want to see Western Clash on third ban.
For sure.
So I'm crossing my fingers that hopefully they will get that in week 4. Because week 5 almost seems a little late to do it right before that big of an event.
Yeah, I agree. I would still rather them do it week 5 if it's not 4 instead of wait till after the event. But week 4 would definitely be better.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. But be sure to tune in to the games this weekend and see how much more Space Goat we get.
Yeah, I am. I fully admit I was not expecting to see as much as we did, but after still continuing to play her, she's pretty good.
She is. She is a bully of a solo laner, and that is mainly what they've been really using her for. She's just a big lane bully. And then just the cool thing was we saw a variety of builds too. We saw some build. We saw some like more trait type stuff. More of the build that we kind of talked about the other week, and so it's been cool to see she's at least on most of her tiers. She's got some interesting variety that a lot of people are picking.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right, community content this week. What do we got?
So I wanted to start out because one of our listeners, Focused, pointed this site to me, and it's a really cool thing, so I wanted to shout it out. It's called the Military Gaming League, and this website is militarygamingleague.com, and this is a gaming league specifically for veterans and active duty service members, and only veterans and active duty service members. And they have a Heroes League as well that I don't believe it's been going on for a ton of time, but they're really starting to ramp it up quite a bit. They've had like a tournament or two so far, and they streamed it last time. And so I wanted to throw this out there because if you're a listener and you are a veteran or an active duty service member, this might be a really cool league for you.
For sure. And it's a fantastic looking website.
Yeah, it really is. It's pretty legit.
So that's super cool.
Yeah. So, like I said, we'll have the link to that in the show notes as well. But if you are a service member and you're looking for a gaming league of some sort, that could be a really cool one. Secondly, I did find the article that I was talking about earlier in the show, and it is by Alex Diz, and it's called "So You Want to Climb in Hero League." And it's got that awesome gif of Captain America sitting down, just, laying it all out there. He does a really good job of laying out tanks, solo lane, assassins, supports, and builds for all of them and why, specifically for Hero League in our current meta. So really, really cool article.
It is.
And we'll have that in the show notes. But if you are looking to climb Hero League, if you're looking for what maybe is good meta right now or what specifically to maybe work on and focus on for your hero pools, this is a fantastic starting guide.
Yeah. And hopefully it'll help me turn my JNO win rate around because it's struggling. Because she's been one I've been wanting to head in. And I disagree with this Phoenix build, but hey, what do I know?
Disagree with what?
I disagree with this Phoenix build, but what do I know? I just have, a 75% win rate over like 100 games with them.
Do you still have that?
Overall, he is still above 70% in all my games played with him. I know, it's weird.
Good for you. Have you started seeing a little less priority on him? Now that some of the nerfs have gone through?
He still seems to have quite a bit of priority. I'd say he's, without doing the math off the top of my head, I'd say he probably has like 75 to 80% involvement in Hero League at my ranking.
Okay.
Either banned or picked.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, go check that out. Or if you really want to play Phoenix, go check out Greg's build. Yeah. Apparently. Mm-hmm. And then finally, and this is really cool. Chaos OS, who normally does the Math of the Storm articles, actually put out a really cool article called Lore of the Storm, Part 1, Maps and Skins. And he really breaks down a lot of the lore stuff within each of the different maps, and breaks down like the characters by, he calls them buckets. So like the first bucket is same character, different outfit. Second bucket is alternate timeline or universe. Third bucket is holiday, and fourth bucket is Nexus specific. So really, really cool article if you are into the lore stuff. He actually breaks down all the sub universes, Enforcer, Pajama Party, Mecha Storm, Sports, Warchrome, Mecha Storm, all that type of stuff. Like the descriptions and the type of universe it is. Really, really good article. So if you're into the lore stuff, we'll have the link to that in the show notes. But it's a good read.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty close to Lores of the Storm, but we'll let it slide.
TM.
We'll let it slide. We didn't. We'll admit, we didn't contact our lawyers soon enough and get that stuff worked out. So
yeah,
it's okay. We'll share it.
We'll share it.
But no, that is it's a neat article.
He provides some great content, and I know we've said it several times, but his Math of the Storm articles over on tempostorm.com are absolutely fantastic. He usually breaks down every single patch, and kind of gives overview of what the math side of things looks like just from a straight power perspective. Not that math plays out exactly like it should necessarily in game, or depending on the skill of the player, but it is a great starting point to check out when the new patches come out to see kind of what things have shifted around.
For sure. All right. That is going to do it for this week's episode. I would say a little shorter, but really this is what our episodes used to be and kind of what we planned
or
for.
Less.
So, it's not really short. It's just not long like we usually are. So we're still good.
We didn't have multi. I'm sure if we
true.
had multi, we would have gotten into some giant lore discussion.
It would have been another 2-hour plus episode.
Yep.
But before we get out of here, we'll tell you the ways you can reach us, all the different ways. You can find us on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, Patreon, all those things at Lords of the Storm. You can join us in-game. Just type /join space LOTS or join our Discord, or we'll have a link in the show notes. It's also pinned on our Twitter. If you want to email us feedback or questions, again, we would love to hear the opinions of new players, or if you all have any friends that are new players, kind of what their thoughts on the state of the game for new players, what their thoughts are. We'd love that. And then also, thank you for all your reviews. If you really want to help the show, iTunes, Stitcher, all that stuff, those reviews help us get more visibility when it comes to people looking for shows for Heroes of the Storm. You can also find us individually, myself on Twitter, Facebook, at Gizmozord, as well as on my stream, twitch.tv/Gizmozord, where I am, of course, streaming my journey, my up and down journey in what is known as Hero League. And I'm also on Convert to Raid Presents, the Battle.net News, the World of Warcraft podcast focused on all things Blizzard. And you can also find Multi there this week. Multi, you can find at Multizord, and then on Hearth Casual, his Hearthstone podcast. TBK, where can you be found?
You can find me on Twitter at TBKZord, of course, over on Heroes Hearth, where I write articles, concepts, all that sort of fun stuff. And then also, if you're a WoW person, you can also hear me this Friday. I will be guesting on Azeroth Roundtable, where I will be talking to Ben and John about WoW things.
Wow.
Because I've just been playing a lot of WoW lately. And that, of course, is twitch.tv/AzerothRT. It will start at 8 Pacific, 10 Central Time.
Very nice. I want to give a special thanks to our patron producer Ouroboros Sword for helping support the show, as well as Wicked Kitten keeping things calm and collective in our chat over there. Until next time, get your placements in, enjoy the third band, all the changes. We'll see you same time, same place next week, Wednesday, 9 p.m. Central. I won't be here. The other guys will be. Have a good one.
Enough. I shall do no more.
I forgot to say why I wouldn't be here, but it's okay.